let's get into the final player. Another point guard, a 23-year-old point guard, which I think a lot of people forget that he's 23, which is the same age as John Morant. Now he's almost 24, so he's just about a year older than John Morant. Trae Young. Trae Young's super intriguing to me because crazy good shooter, great passer, but he's a bit careless. Maybe the worst defender in the NBA outside of Isaiah Thomas when he's on a roster. But he's shown that in the big moments do not get to him, which I think is something that really goes undervalued because in the playoffs, last season was a horrible matchup. Like the Miami Heat, when you are the only player on your team that can score and make a shot, and you have to go up against that Miami Heat defense, it's not going to go good for you. I don't care if you're Steph Curry. I don't care if you're Giannis Antetokounmpo. They've got too many defenders to be able to just get by them with one guy. And that's what the Hawks had to try to do. It wasn't going to work. It had no chance. But the year before that, averaged 28.8 points in the playoffs, and just absolutely carried that team. I mean, was even winning games against the Bucks before he got injured. Like, he has shown in the playoffs, like, when he has a team around him, because right now the team's kind of wonky. They keep swapping guys in and out. John Collins is inconsistent. Clint Capella, you never know if he's going to play. And then Kevin Huerter, inconsistent shooter. Bogdanovich, kind of weird acquisition off the bench. At first I loved it. Then I was like, I don't know. Do you think Trae Young, next 5 years, as he develops, can he get into that Steph Curry type mold where it's, he's a passer, but he can also create a shot no matter what. And if he gets the right, shooter, great. Because Steph Curry, at Trae Young's age, was also an atrocious defender. If he gets that Klay Thompson, if he goes purely into the Warriors mold, right? Great defender, in the small forward, power forward slot, and then a great, 3-and-D player at the 2. Could Trae Young be the guy? Or is that just too much wishful thinking to hope that he would be able to get it done?
No, I 100% easily, in my opinion, I would take Trae Young and I would build around him as my number one. As a point guard, he's shown, obviously, he can pass. I mean, he's averaged, I think, around like 9-10 assists, on average.
His career is 9.1.
Yep. So excellent passer. I mean, even some of the passes he's given to like John Collins or Clint Capella, when I watch his games, especially in the playoffs, it was kind of like, did he really just make that pass? But other than that, it's something we've already discussed. His shooting, he can shoot deep, he can shoot mid, he can drive, he's got the floater. He has one of the best shooting games out of a lot of play. Like, he's probably like in the maybe like top 5, top 10 probably of creating his own shot. And you're right. The defense is absolutely horrific. But again, he's just another player where it's like he's not even his prime. He's constantly compared with Luka because of that Luka trade, right? But to even have discussions about who won the trade kind of has its own significance. Obviously, no one wants to be compared to someone for the rest of their career, but that's just kind of what's going to happen with Trae. And I know he's accepted that, but I view him as someone who you give him a few more years and maybe he's, the defense, he can be at least an average defender. But it's pretty much what you said. You give him the right core around him. It's like, yes, that is your guy. If you need a bucket, it's clutch time. You need someone, he's the guy to go to. And he can do it. Floater, outside shot, mid-range, it doesn't matter. Like, you've seen it. There's the footage to show he's actually done it in those moments. So, yeah, I feel really confident. I love Trae Young's game. You just got to give him the right people. Right now, he doesn't have the right people.
It's kind of ironic. We're talking about Trae Young. Same time earlier tonight, we were talking about Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns. And why were they able to get stopped when Chris Paul was struggling? because he was the only guy that could make a bucket on his own. That's been Trae Young. If he gets another guy next to him that teams are worried about, like I feel like the guy next to him has been Danilo Gallinari. Like that's been the guy that you have to go to get a bucket outside of Trae Young, which is not the guy you want to be giving it, off the bench, as a fourth scorer. Great player. But you can't rely on him to be your, number two. Maybe it's Bogdan, but I feel like Bogdan's more of a, he's more of a shooter. Now, can he score? Yes. But I feel like if you're a defender, you're not afraid of a Bogdan isolation. If he gets the right guys around him, I feel more confident than with any other point guards. Again, I don't consider Luka a point guard. In the NBA, outside of obviously Steph Curry, to be able to win that championship, because I think Dame's a little bit too old. Chris Paul, I think, is a little bit too old. Trae Young is just getting into that, prime age. He's really getting an understanding of, the NBA. If he had the right coaching and if he had the right team around him, great free throw shooter, gets to the line as well as anybody in the league, he could absolutely win a championship. Because he plays the right way as the one. I'm not saying, he's better than other players, but you have to be able to create your own shot, and you have to be able to hit the mid-range, you have to be able to hit the three, and you have to be able to score in the paint. And he does all of those very well, and he also draws fouls a ton. So I definitely think Trae Young's a guy that you can look at to build around for a championship, because he's shown that he can do it. Like, watching him in, 2020 or was it 20, I think it's 2021, I think it was very clear that you could build around him. I think, were they 2-2 against the Bucks?
Yes, it was 2-2.
And then he gets hurt. And then it was like, oh, the Hawks look really bad. It was like, yeah, because Trae Young put the team on his back.